Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have my most special guest here, Sally Davidson, who is a friend, a colleague, and someone that I really look up to in forms of, just breathing and connecting back to my breath. So, Sally, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm so excited to be here this morning.
Yes, I am just so excited to share your wealth full of knowledge around breathing because there was a point in time where I didn't even know I had a breath. Like I was breathing, of course, if I wasn't, I'd be dead, but I didn't even know that something like that was so accessible to me. So I am so excited to share something that really helped me in my journey and still helps me to this day. Sally and I were just talking about our crazy mornings, and I was like, let's just take one big deep breath together. And such a shift, just one breath.
Yeah,
It's
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 amazing.
amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, Sally, before we dive into all things breathing, could you just give us a background of who you are, what you do, a little bit of your story, and how you came to doing what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So, my name is Sally Davidson. I'm actually a registered nurse for, I don't even know, maybe 30 years now. And when I left my job, probably about 3 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer, time seems to have collapsed for me. I'm always bad with dates, but I left. I was the director of nursing for critical care services in my local town for two different organizations who were in the process of building a new hospital. And I walked away a little bit about 6 months before the hospital was built. I had been with that organization for 27 years at the time, I guess. And so I have a strong Western medicine background, obviously. And what I was finding was I was really just struggling with my own anxiety and my own purpose in the world. I loved being a nurse. I loved actually what I did. And I thought part of me leaving was the job, and maybe part of it was, but also I've come to realize that part of me leaving was just, it was just the time for me to, I was feeling like uneasy with life in general. My job was busy and a little bit toxic. Healthcare can be difficult. But I can look back now and say it wasn't all the job. It was me. Like internally, my operating system was completely overwhelmed. And I didn't even know what that meant until I found all these holistic modalities and took time for myself and built my own business called the founder of Rooted Soul. And it is a wellness coaching consulting company who really helps women and men, but mainly women, come in back into themselves, these overachieving parts of me that I dealt with for years, um, where we look like we have it all together. If you looked on paper, I had everything. I had everything. I had a beautiful house. I had a great husband. I was making good money. My career was doing well. But inside, I literally felt like I was dying.
Mm.
And that's really hard to explain to someone because I think a lot of people don't want to admit that, right? And I'm not saying everybody in the world is doing that. Everybody's inside dying, right? But for me, that's how I felt. I felt like I didn't even know who I was anymore outside of my job, which I was working 50 hours a week. And again, I want to just preface, no one asked me to work like that. That was something internal in me, that
Mm.
overachieving perfectionist that thought I had to be the one to fix everything. And she became sick. I had a lot of like physical ailments. I gained a lot of weight. And then I was able to push through all that. And what I wasn't able to push through was the anxiety that I started getting at work, like panic
Mm.
attacks at home. And I wasn't able to push through that, luckily for me. And it kind of forced me to like step away and take another route. And so now I help, I'm a conscious embodiment leadership coach. I help women through breath, through somatic work, through awareness, through transformational retreats and experience immersions, nervous system regulation, come back to like their heart, to who they
Mm.
are really and what they're supposed to be doing in the world. Um, and remembering really who they are, because I think we get lost in the patterns of day to day. And for me, what I love to bring forward, and the breath has been a really big part of this, is that we have everything inside of us. Like, we're always searching. I was always searching to be like promoted, or to be the one that was acknowledged or seen and heard. And sometimes I didn't even know how to receive that. So I really had to slow things down. And life can be really busy and can be really hard. But when we don't understand our own barriers, and not even being able to breathe and take a deep breath is a barrier, but a lot of that is old patterning within our body. So a lot of people in the beginning, my husband would say this is all woo, but really most of this now is science based. The nervous system regulation, the breath, these holistic modalities. So what I love to say is I love to take the all of my knowledge of Western medicine, and now these maybe little bit Eastern, these more holistic practices, and bring them into women in the workplace, leading their families. Because my life has been totally different since I have connected more to how I operate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that, Sally. I think about this for women, you know, that are listening here, that want to get their periods back, or want to get pregnant, or want to regulate their cycles, whatever it may be. It's like, that's just a part of it. It's just a part of it all. And I almost think about me losing my period many years ago as like my first, like, hey, like, wake up, like, this is not how life is supposed to be lived, kind of thing. And of course I wanted to have babies and become a mom, but truly I had no idea how I was living until something, like you said, you're like, I started to get sick. Like,
Yeah.
I lost my cycle. And looking at this as an opportunity to connect to the woman that you were put on this earth to be. Because if something happened, like a missing period, or, you're not ovulating properly, your body just isn't working properly, whether or not it's a period or you start to get sick, or, you know, and it's like that alone, is an opportunity, which if someone, I feel like, I mean, you can't turn back time, but and who knows if I would have listened at that time, but it's like, I only wish I knew then that this was an opportunity, and not like, oh my God, my world is ending, like my life is ending.
Mhm.
Because that's what it felt like. It felt like, I had to stop exercising intensely. Like, that was my like love. Like, that's what I did. I did it with my friends. I did it with my husband. If someone was like, Cynthia, what do you do for fun? I'd be like, I work out. Like, I used to CrossFit at the time. And I think about that. And, that idea of fun in the back of my head was an idea of like, let me make sure I'm as fit as possible and have like the best body, because if I have the best body, I'm going to feel good,
Right.
and I'm going to just be able to be happier. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's in, and this is one point I don't share that. Well, I have shared this before, but I haven't really thought about this in a while. Too, you were just talking about losing your period, basically. Because I had a lot of things when I look back now that I wasn't aware of. I had my gallbladder out, I had hysterectomy, I had like a lot of things happening because I'm older. And if I look back now, I do believe that that was my body like telling me.
Saying hello.
I was like, yeah, cut it out, take it out. Let me just get back to work. Let me just get back to
Let's
work.
fix it.
Work,
Yeah.
work was my go-to. And the other piece of, aside of the panic attacks, that was really, really detrimental, was I had had a hysterectomy. And post hysterectomy, I'm not sure the timeline, but post hysterectomy, I had this horrific nerve pain. And it was nerve pain in an area that like no one wants to talk about, but obviously I can
Mm.
talk about it here, right? So I had this horrible nerve pain. So forget sex, forget anything else happening, because I had this nerve pain that was there day in and day out. So I went back to the doctor, and they said to me, oh, we think maybe we clipped this nerve, blah, blah, blah. I think you're going to need another procedure. So I was like, okay, sign me up to stop the pain. The pain was horrific. If you've ever had
Mm,
nerve pain, if you've ever had shingles, or nerve pain is really, really painful and it's really hard to control. So I had another procedure, another operation, still didn't get better. And in the process of that, I was really starting on my healing journey, and I had started this program. That's when my panic attacks were coming out. I had all this nerve pain that I didn't really want to talk about. I didn't even want to really share it with my friends. I shared it with a few people because
mm,
it felt embarrassing and like, who wants to talk about this? And at that point, I wasn't really connected to my body. So it was like almost like this whole disconnect was happening.
mm,
And in the meantime, I had uncovered a really severe trauma that I had had as a child that I had not
mm,
dealt with. So that started to come to the surface. I'm dealing with this nerve pain post hysterectomy. I am having these panic attacks, and I take a leave of absence from work, which there's a lot of stress around that because
mm.
that did not go well for me, really. Honestly, people were, now you take a leave of absence for mental health, and people are like, she's crazy, right? When you just
Yeah.
need some time, right? That's a whole other
Mhm,
podcast. But I ended up in this program to learn. It was called Inner Alignment, which I am certified in now. But we did a lot of deep meditation, rewiring practices, which is all the rave now, somatic healing, and I did 8 weeks with this woman and ended up doing like a lot of mentoring with her for a year and a half after. But
mm,
I did her program, and I learned to meditate. I learned to slow down. I learned mantras. I learned to connect to my body, to deal with my emotions, all the things that I do now. And I was not at all thinking there was any connection to my pain and what I was doing. I was just thinking, I'm having these panic attacks. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore. And I started this process of meditation, and it was a pretty intense program because we met, like, I had like a mentor, and we met like to go over the meditations and the mantras. And every time I was like spiraling out of control, I was connecting with them via text. So it was pretty intense 8 weeks.
mm,
And once I started getting the meditation down, and the meditation in that sense was also connected to breath, all of a sudden one day I woke up and I was like, oh, I don't have that pain.
mm.
And I was almost afraid to say it out loud. I was
Yeah.
almost afraid to be like, I didn't
Yeah.
even tell my husband I didn't have it. And then the next day, the pain was not there. And then the next day, the pain wasn't there. The pain just disappeared. And the only thing different, honestly, was I left my job temporarily at that point,
Mhm,
but I was meditating. I was learning about my own nervous system, my own operating system, I like to say. I was settling my nervous system. I was grounding. I was taking care of myself. I was journaling, all the things. But um, that makes sense now. That nerve pain, those nerves that were firing, because it's my nervous system. It was
yeah.
nerve
Yeah.
pain. It's my nervous system. It's all connected. And it completely connected to a childhood trauma
Mm,
because I had sexual abuse as a child that I never dealt with. So where the pain was, everything now connects. The dots
yeah.
connect. And how did I heal that? I healed that through meditation, through breath, through learning to understand my nervous system, and through some deep kind of trauma work. But all of that connected, and me taking my nervous system from this state of fight or flight, like this quivering, just think of a nerve that's like quivering, and now it's settling. So, of course, the pain went away. And that may sound like a
Mm.
bunch of bunk, but
No.
it is like literally, that's probably, I guess, the story I should lead with because I don't even lead with that anymore. I haven't even told that story in a while, but that truly happened. And there was nothing else that occurred. And that pain had been there for over a year. And it
Oh,
was life altering, like with my
yeah.
partner, with my husband, in my life. I couldn't ride a bike. I couldn't exercise too much. I couldn't wear tight pants. It was awful.
Yeah.
And it just went away.
Yeah.
Not with
And
not with Western medicine, not with pills, not with another procedure. It went away
Mm.
because I started to take care of myself. And so my nervous system started to calm down.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that story. And I want to ask is how, like, because I'm a fan of everything you just shared, of all the, meditation, journaling, all the things, but w- how did you, because there was one point you were like completely, Western med, let's just fix the problem, go to the doctors, get the pill, get the procedure.
Yeah.
And then what was the point where you're like pretty much surrendered? Like I'm repeating the same thing over and over and expecting kind of different results. Like when was it that
It
you were like,
it was
I'm done?
interesting. I think, I was in therapy with my husband, second marriage, and I was feeling like that marriage was failing. And I was like not happy at work. I wasn't happy anywhere, honestly. And I was in the therapist's office, and I had already been dabbling with some of these holistic modalities. I've always kind of been interested in
Mm,
them, but never like really took the time.
mm,
And I just remember the therapist asking me like what I liked, or like, what are my interests, or who am I, and I was like, I don't even
yeah,
know. Like, I don't
yeah,
even know at 50 some years old. I don't even know who I am anymore without
yeah.
being a nurse or being a wife or being whatever. And I had chameleoned, I call it, into like what everybody needed me to be. And
Mm,
I really lost myself. And I just think I realized, what am I doing? Like, and I saw it in healthcare also. Like, I saw it in the
mm,
day to day of like what we were doing with people and how we were treating people like a number, and we just
mm,
give them more medicine, and we just
yeah,
pile medicine on medicine on medicine. And I was always very sensitive to medication. So for me to take like a Percocet would set me off the, like, I am just very sensitive to medications, always have been. So we would just give people so much medicine, or you would go to the doctor and you would say you're anxious, and you would get a pill, and then you would take the pill. And I don't know honestly what the moment was when I just really was like, none of this is working,
yeah,
and none of this
yeah,
seems like right. Like something switches in your brain, I think, eventually
yeah,
for you
yeah,
to surrender. I mean, I did some things, like I was dabbling and I was doing these practices, and I went and became an energy healer and learned some shamanism. I went to Peru and did ayahuasca. So I was dabbling in a lot of self development stuff. So I don't know if it happened like
yeah.
immediately.
Like it was like a light bulb went on, and
Yeah. I mean,
that's
the
not
light bulb went
always.
on in the therapist's office. I always remember that day sitting in the
Yeah,
office and him being like, who are you? Tell me who you are.
yeah,
And I was like, I don't know. It
I
was,
know.
I was like angry. I was like angry and irritated. And then I was like, and I was thinking that I was in therapy for my husband and my relationship because it was all his fault. And there was a big light bulb
Mm,
moment of like, this is not all his fault. Like I don't know how to receive love. I don't even feel love, I don't think. And I am just angry all the time, kind of.
yeah,
Like it's really hard to admit it, but
yeah,
I had to like really like take a look at myself. And what I tell clients and people is we do have a lot of external factors, and some of them aren't good. I've had a lot of not good external factors in my life. And it's my job now to take care of that, to understand myself, to understand how my nervous system works, my operating system, what I need to have a healthy, happy, adventurous, fun life full of love, right?
yeah,
And you can look for love, you can look for all the things, but if you don't feel that inside for yourself, you're never going to find it.
yeah.
People don't want to hear that, but I believe that that's the honest truth. You have to get real with yourself first
Mm-hmm.
to be able to
No,
bring in that into your life. So, yes, do me and my husband still have struggles? Yes, but I do know that I like love him, and now I'm at least aware when things are going a little awry.
yeah,
Okay, like what's my part? Because I can get into a whole victim mode of like, oh my god, But it's this. Like my heart was pretty like hardened, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Western medicine and a pill isn't going to fix that. It's just not.
No. No, no, definitely not. And I appreciate you sharing all that. And I think about, the women listening today and that, we're always looking for the thing that's going to be the thing. And I am not perfect by any means either. Sometimes I can still feel that way today is like, what is the thing like that is going to, and it's like, there's no thing, Cynthia.
I
It's
still
right
do.
here,
I
you
still
know?
do it sometimes, and I teach this. This is my life's work and my purpose.
Yeah.
And still, I can fall into like that trap, that hole of like kind of feeling sorry for myself a little bit of the victim triangle, falling into that victim mode and
Hmm.
being angry. But you know what? When I do, I'm aware now when I do that, like I'm not taking care of myself. I'm on my screen too much. Not taking care of myself. And if meditating and doing breath work and taking care of myself can get rid of a year long nerve pain, then it can definitely also help me with some victimizing of my of myself
Yeah.
when I feel like my husband's being an a-hole, which sometimes he is,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes
Yeah.
I am too, right? Like we're humans.
Yeah.
So looking for nirvana isn't happening, right? Like nervous system work, breath work isn't about getting to this space where we're always going to be happy and free and everything is perfect, sunshine and roses. Like that doesn't really exist. We have to learn how to build a capacity within ourselves through these modalities so that we understand ourselves, we understand our patterns, and then we can build our own capacity to be able to handle more. And usually when I say that, people are like, well, I don't want to handle more. But it's not about handling more hardness. It's about the fact that the first time that you realize that your capacity is growing because somebody says something to you that usually triggers the shit out of you, and they say it to you and you're like, it's almost like there's a force field up. It's not bypassing. You are just in such a regulated place. You're like, yeah, that didn't even bother me.
Yeah.
When I first started recognizing that with my husband, I was like, wow, that would have spiraled me. And that isn't even like a thing, which when I don't react defensively or aggressively, then we don't go into this spiral because we're able to communicate. We're actually able to communicate. Like, yeah, I didn't love that, but, and this is the reason. So it's not a, listen, it's not an overnight fix, even with breathwork sessions,
Mhm.
right? It's not an overnight fix. It's about really deciding that your life, if you start to learn how to regulate and understand your life and your patterns and your blocks, everybody around you, your relationships will just be better.
Yeah.
They just will because the shifts will happen around you. And if they don't, those people may fall away. And that happens sometimes when you put up boundaries and start to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that too, Sally, because I think, I I know that was me. Like I was people pleasing. I was putting everyone like before me. And I don't know, that's the way I kind of felt love at the time. And then, I think about all the work that you shared. It's like this is all just amazing stuff. And I think, way back when I'd have been like, no, I want the quick fix. I want the quick fix and I just want to be pregnant. I just want to, get my period back. And there is just no quick fix. There's just no quick fix to anything. And, thinking about all those modalities and improving your life and becoming the woman that you were put on this earth to be, don't forget about the proper nourishment that has to take place as well. Because I'm sure you'd agree, Sally, we can't regulate a nervous system that is undernourished or not fed.
Absolutely not. And honestly, I was way overweight. I've lost a lot of weight with some help. And that is the other thing. Like, we don't think about what we're putting in our body. And I was putting so much, like, I was a carb queen. So you put so much garbage into your body, and the food here, especially in the United States, is so processed. Everything is so processed. and we're so busy. So we just, we're eating in the car, we're eating quick, we're doing all these things to save time for the quick fix. And the inflammation that I felt before I lost my weight was unbelievable. I had pain in my feet that was so intense when I got out of bed, and it was all inflammation. When I changed my
Hmm.
diet, on top of, because that was kind of the last thing for me. I was really stuck in like that, like still eating bad pattern, even though I've been doing all these other things, right? So everything is connected,
Yeah.
right? Like I love breath work, right? I think it's just beautiful and it can bring us into these places, into our subconscious. I can call it the psychedelics without psychedelics. I think it's like a beautiful journey without even going for ayahuasca or a psychedelic experience or, psilocybin
Yeah.
experiences. But so I think it's beautiful how our breath can do that. But also everything is connected, right, Cynthia? It's nothing like we're sold now so much about these quick fixes. Nothing is a
Mm.
quick,
No.
nothing. I do all this work and then I still get frustrated thinking, oh, I thought I like dealt with that energetic block.
Yeah.
I thought I removed that
Same.
that old thing that happened to me as a kid. But the reality is like that little girl in me, she needs some reassurance that I'm not going to leave her behind again, right? So when I do inner child healing, it's not like a one and done with that either. And some people may say, well, um, everything's a scam, everything's, a moneymaker, but it's not. I mean, healing is not linear. And the way we eat, I mean, it's a devotion to ourselves, to our vessel, to our body, and being devoted actually to ourselves is takes that devotion, right? When we talk about devotion, a lot of times people are thinking about religion, but if you're devoted to yourself and your healing and your body and your vessel, like what can be more important than that? Even like, and I have this argument with a lot of people, or this, I shouldn't say argument, but disagreement, because when we have kids and we put our kids first, but even there, when you put your daughter first or your son first, right? If they see you though living not devoted to yourself, what are we teaching them, honestly? We're teaching them not to be devoted to themselves, to be devoted to their partner, to be devoted to someone else, to be devoted to their job. You can still be a good employee and be devoted to like, I need to take my lunch period or I need to eat
Yeah.
healthy. I need to slow down for 10 minutes. Um, and this isn't anybody's fault. This is patterned in us long before as women. This is generational.
Mm.
And I talk to people about this in my retreats because women are like, I can't spend that kind of money on a week for myself. But it's not just a vacation. You're talking about spending time in community with other women,
Yeah.
or like my partnership retreat where you're spending together with your partner, not on the screens, and learning how to communicate again. These are practices that are really about coming back to yourself. And in the long run, it's transformational. And what can you put on that? Like you
Yeah.
start to learn how to understand yourself and take responsibility for yourself in your all of your relationships, even with your kids, because
Yeah.
those blocks will show up on how you interact with your children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moms
Absolutely
will
well.
say
And
no, but it
oh my God, they do. I'll be the first to admit it.
also like if my nervous system is revved up, um, then the people around me feel that like that we feel that with our if we took the deep breath before we started, because the people listening will be able to feel if we came in with the energy, I was running late,
Yeah.
my internet wasn't working right, then the people that are listening, that's energetics, they'll feel that. So we took a deep breath and
Mm.
settled. But our kids, it's the same thing. Our partners at work, our employees, it's
Yeah.
all the same.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate you making those points. And a couple things I want to touch on, and then I want to ask about potentially like a quick exercise we could do. But the devotion to feeding ourselves healthy food, which I am 100% a fan of, and I just want to make super clear for the women that are listening, because they are like doing all the healthy foods, but they're missing food groups. They are loading on vegetables. They are not eating enough carbs. And so, just to differentiate between Sally's, experience with food. And for most of us here, it's like, yes, nourishing, like what does nourishing your body look like in the season that you are in? And for those women that are listening that have their periods, like you need enough food. And if getting enough food means like you got to stop and, get something convenient, right? You're not doing that every single day, but the body needs enough fuel. And then once we get the body enough fuel, then we can talk about, more gentle ways of nutrition and being devoted. But just remembering that a missing period is a detriment to your heart health. It's a detriment to your bone health. It is a detriment to your fertility. So it is also, so I just wanted to share that. And then I also wanted to ask for you, Sally, slowing down, like, can you give us some examples of just like things that helped you in the transitional phase of you kind of being, angry and just feeling all the feels to that? Like, how did you start slowing down? Because like for someone that's on like, razor's edge of like, go, 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 like, how did that even start? And then if you
Yeah,
could leave us maybe with, a little bit of breathing.
sure. So, as far as the nutrition, what you just mentioned too, I just want to say like anything that we do, right? We tend to swing the pendulum too far one way in life in general, right? So, everything is surrendering into like what feels good. So it doesn't have to be like you were saying, like just vegetables and not enough carbs, and like where I am in my life at 61 is different than where someone is at 35. And I totally agree with that. And the same when you're starting to bring in maybe meditation or breathing or slowing down or journaling, it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. Like what fits into your life. So segueing into slowing down, like what fits in a morning practice for me was really important for me to take time in the morning to meditate or do some breath or do some journaling. But people are resistant, so they think if they can't do a morning practice, then I can't do it, right? So what do I want to say about that? I want to say like take micro changes. Don't think you have to go into a big breathwork experience or a big meditation practice. It's really hard to go from this fight or flight, this anxious way to slow down and meditate, right? So
Mhm.
maybe your slowing down is getting up 20 minutes earlier and having your cup of tea, maybe waiting on your coffee, maybe having something without caffeine, maybe just looking outside. Someone was saying to me, I was doing a corporate gig at the end of last year, and we were talking about joy and what they found joy in it. For her, it was like getting up and just looking at the Christmas lights at Christmas. It was around Christmas time, taking 10 minutes before her kids got up. So starting with things, identifying things that make you feel good, that allow you to slow down, right? Just start with that. Like, what's one thing? And it's not your screen,
Mm-mm.
because
And it's not exercise quite yet,
right,
ladies.
right. It's just slowing down and being present. And that can feel really, really uncomfortable in the beginning if
Mm,
that is not the life that you lead right now. That was not the life I led. So start with small things. So because your nervous system has to get used to you even slowing down. Yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable, right? And that's okay. So do 5 minutes. Maybe do 5 minutes before you're going into work or before you're taking the kids somewhere in the car, like before the kids are, maybe you're picking the kids up from school or something. Just take 5 minutes and take some nice deep breaths in the car. Just close your eyes for a minute, like if it feels safe, and then just take a couple deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. 5 minutes. Start with 3 minutes if five seems too much.
mm,
Breathing deeply is amazing, but some people even feel resistance to breathing deeply. So just breathe whatever feels good for you and slowly. It's just like if it's the ladies are used to exercising, it's just like when in the beginning when you haven't been exercising in a while. This is the same thing. But allow yourself the ability to do it slow, because your nervous system needs to know and your body needs to know it's safe to slow down.
mm.
So when you can't slow down right away, and then you just go to that old story of I can't,
Hmm.
then you just feed into that old story of I can't. But I'm just going to tell you, you can. We all just have to, again, we don't just do it. We have to go slow. Which is why when you're working with someone, like you give them permission to like take their time, because if you start journaling works really well for some people, right? Some the written word is beautiful. Sometimes it doesn't have to be about what you write. You can just write, I don't want to journal this morning. Like you can just, it's about getting your emotions out. It's about getting your thoughts out so that you have some space to just slow down. So I would suggest is taking one thing that you think you can do and do it for 3 minutes and then building up. And if you can get up in the morning, it's great to start your morning. But if you're a night shift worker, there's like a million night shift workers. Maybe it's in the evening that you do it.
Hmm.
And just have it be something simple. Maybe it's looking out your window,
Yeah.
sipping on a cup of tea for 5 minutes before you're scrolling. But
Yes.
if you tell me you don't have time, I'm going to ask you to look at your phone and look at how many hours you've been on it.
Yes.
Because it's not healthy. And I do it too. But when I do it a lot, it's not healthy. The dopamine hits, our brain is not wired to have those kind of constant dopamine hits. It
No.
creates more anxiety. I know you think I know a lot of people think it's like this, just not paying attention to anything else, but it's not healthy.
No. And all the energetics that are coming through that screen of the like it's all feeding into your
Yeah, it's not good.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot. So, Sally, would you have just a moment just to say, like, if you're in the thick of like a spiral or you're like,
Yeah,
ah, I'm just like, could you walk us through a little bit of
yeah,
breathing?
I can. So if you're in a spiral, this is what I always say. If you're even out to dinner at a family dinner, right? You're not going to necessarily go off and meditate maybe, but you can go in the bathroom, you can lock the door, and you can take a few deep breaths. This isn't woo, this is science based. When we breathe, when we deep breathe, we connect to our vagus nerve, right? And that goes into our parasympathetic. It's the rest and digest. It automatically allows us to start to bring the energy down,
Mm.
right? So we're just going to take a few nice deep breaths together, and you can do this anywhere. Like I said, at a family dinner, I'm heading out today to spend the Jewish holiday with my husband's family. I'm going to be in a small apartment in Manhattan, and I'm going to be with family for 4 days. So I'm not saying I'm going to be annoyed, but like literally, you put people together, people can get annoyed. So just give yourself time alone, have a boundary, and then just do some nice deep breaths. So we'll just do like 10 deep breaths together. And this is all you have to do. Maybe
Okay.
put your hand on your belly and on your chest so that when you breathe in through your nose, I want you to feel your belly expand. Your hand kind of lift up so that you're breathing properly. So taking a nice deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. When you exhale, feel your shoulders drop, feel your body relax. Give it permission. Nice deep breath in through your nose and out. 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 And take one more really nice deep breath. And when you breathe in, I want you to hold that breath for a moment. Take a nice deep breath in. Hold that breath. And then really just let it out. Just notice for a moment how your body feels. Notice if it's softened at all, if you feel a little bit more relaxed. Notice the subtle shift. It doesn't have to be huge, it can be a subtle shift. But allow yourself to even notice the subtle shifts because they're there. And that is the beginning to just slowly start to allow your nervous system to know it's safe enough to breathe, relax, be present.
Hmm. I don't know. I think most of us here listen to the podcast instead of watch it because I just recently started putting it on YouTube, but I was following along with Sally's breath, and you could probably tell by the change in my voice that that totally dropped me back into my body even more than that one breath. Imagine if one breath takes you a little bit down, 10 breaths, just 10 breaths. What did that take us? 60 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's accessible to you at any time, at any time. Well, I mean, you might have to step away from other people, right? But, you know, that was just amazing, Sally. And
Yeah, we want to be in our body more. We want to be out of our heads and into our body. And a lot of the work I do is getting women and men, but a lot of women into their body. And you can do that through breath, through dance, through fun. It doesn't always have to be like this heavy thing.
yeah, or
And
this like disciplined, I must wake up and
right,
meditate,
right.
or,
We
you
want to
know,
learn to infuse it into our day and
Mhm.
and connect more into our body, because when we're in our body, as Cynthia said, her voice changed. Like the tone changes. When I'm doing breath work, um, it, it's my voice is totally different than when I first got on with you, and I'm like, right? We're in our
Mhm.
head. You can tell when someone's in their head. It's like all this like fluttering, right? But when
Frantic
we're in our
noise.
body and we're grounded, the everything comes from a different place. And your
Mhm.
voice actually changes. It's a real thing, and it's beautiful. And so you can then
Yeah.
start to be aware of that. Okay, I'm in my body here. It's easier to connect. It's easier for people to feel connected to you. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. Everything is easier when you're in your body.
it is
Absolutely.
so much easier.
Everything. And I just want to say before we close up today that I've taken a couple of sessions, not sessions. I met Sally, I think the first time I met her was at a retreat, and she led a breathwork session, and oh my gosh. Like I because of that, I'm like I would never forget Sally ever for the experience that I had. And that was, gosh, I think it was a couple of years ago that
Mhm.
we had like not like officially met, but when we kind of crossed paths. So, and then a very small breathwork session I've done with Sally as well in a group, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, and Sally is so talented and brings so much light into the world, and I'm so grateful for you.
Mhm.
And if anybody, I want to lead into like, was resonated to also connect with Sally, um, where can people find you? And I know you said you had a couple upcoming retreats, which, oh my gosh, I would next year. I'm like, I said it to, I'm like, next year, I'm going to like save space and see what comes up for Sally because I want to go on one of your
Mm.
retreats terribly.
I was actually just cutting some testimonials from our last Peru retreat from some women, and I was even like getting choked up listening to their video testimonials again because we had such an amazing time in Peru.
Isn't it like, oh my gosh, I do that? Like I can
I was
support
like,
it's like me?
wow, like I mean, when I say they're transformational, they are. And I have a partner with my retreats. My partner Christy from Live Powerfully. She's out in the Chicago area. But yeah, if you're looking for me or you want to know more about what I do, it's SallyDavidsonCoach.com. My website is in the process of being upgraded. I've had so many changes.
Mm,
My website was old, but you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. And my upcoming retreats, I have a retreat in Greece, which I have 4 spots left in the end of June for women. Amazing group of women coming. And then we are just getting ready to launch. We're in pre-launch for a couples retreat in Peru. 7 nights. Both of those retreats are 7 nights.
mm,
Everything is included except your travel to get there. Once you get to the airport, we take care of everything. We pick you up. We bring you to the venue. There's 7 nights, so they're not just like deep healing work. Greece is a goddess retreat. It's about getting in your body. Every room faces the ocean or the sea. We are
mm.
chartering a private little boat to take us around to some beaches that you can only get to by boat. We're going to have another beach day, an herbal day, where we're going to go with an herbalist, and we have a beautiful pool, and it's just amazing. And we have
Mm.
live music coming in one night for a goddess dinner. So a lot of things to bring joy and that. But yeah, we'll do yoga every morning and breath work and be in circle and be in community with other women. And the Peru couples retreat is really about reconnecting to that person that you love, that you kind of feel this day-to-day scrolling disconnection.
Roommate status.
The roommate status, right? We want to remind people why we shouldn't be in the roommate status, right? It's and Peru is a place that like the land alone
Oh, so
is
sacred.
so
Yeah.
sacred. So it just allows you. So we'll go to Machu Picchu. We're going to do a lot of outdoor things, and we're going to do a lot of connection exercises. So yeah, and I do a lot of one-to-one, just getting ready to launch a certification, and so and some group work. So yeah, just hit me up. I would love
Amazing.
to just even chat.
And you're on Instagram too, right,
Yeah,
Sally?
Sally Davidson, Coach
Okay.
Breathwork on Instagram.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here
Thank
today,
you.
Sally.
So much fun.